Hey guys, today's March 5th, and this is really a significant day for me. 12 years ago today, my dad died unexpectedly. We were shopping um, at a local hardware store, and he had a major heart attack, and he died in my arms in the parking lot. And that this day is other than than being the day that I've lost the most important person in my life and my best friend. That was the day that I reached the biggest crossroads in my life. Um, for you who don't know a lot about my past, I actually dropped out of high school my senior year. I was having a lot of issues with, anxiety, and self confidence, and I was having issues at home. And when I would go to school, it would just feel like that the walls were caving in on me, and eventually I just stopped going. So about 6 months after dropping out, my dad died, and I didn't know what to do. He was all I had. Um, my parents had been divorced when I was young, and I knew I had a choice to make. It was, um, you know, turn it around, turn my life around, and take one road, or continue on the path that I was on, which I don't know where that road led to or would lead to. And somehow I was able to turn my life around as far as academics and whatnot. I got my GED, and I started at a community college, and I eventually transferred to university and graduated with a degree in engineering, and got a job and bought a home and all that. But the one thing that didn't change by my dad's by losing my dad was the weight. Um, I I used to I used to beat myself up a lot, and I would ask myself that why didn't why wasn't losing my dad enough? Why was him not dying enough for me to stop eating? I never know the answer to that question. And it was for at least he died in 2000, and it was at least a good 8 9 years, and I would just beat myself up over that. I would question my love for him, and I would wonder why it wasn't enough. Did my love for him not mean enough that I could stop doing to myself what I was doing? But and I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know that I eventually figured out that the two had nothing to do with each other. That the love I had for my dad had nothing to do with the what I was doing to myself with my weight. And that's really important that you understand that if you're trying to lose weight. And I don't know if anybody else goes through this, but I'm putting it out there because most likely somebody is. And I say that especially if you have kids. I know a lot of times people, I don't have kids, but I've seen it others where people will, put, the fact that they have kids as, the number one reason why they need to lose weight, and, do it for your kids. Kids need you, or your wife needs you, or your mom, or family, whatever. And I agree with that. They do need you. But if you don't do it for yourself first, you'll never do it for anybody else. And that's what I learned. I learned that the love I had for my dad had nothing to do with my weight. And I did love him, and I loved him more than anything in this world. And that by me not changing the fact that I was eating my way into where I am now, that didn't affect my love for my dad. And so if you find yourself feeling that, that you failed because, or if you question yourself that, you don't love your wife enough to do this, or you don't love your kids, or you don't love, your mom or your dad or whatever, it's bullshit. And I don't want anybody else to feel that way, because literally for, 8, 9 years, I would, I would just cry over it, and I would, it was tearing me up inside. And like I said, it wasn't until I realized that the two had nothing to do with each other that I sort of was able to, you know, free myself of that, burden that I had put on myself. And like I said, and that I just feel like that's really important that people understand that the weight loss issue, the weight loss, you have to do it for yourself first. If you can't take those few steps for yourself first, then I, and not in every case, but I'd say in most cases, you're gonna give up. And I don't know why, I don't know how that works, but I just know that it does. And once you do take the steps, you can use your family or your wife or your kids or whatever to fuel that determination. I mean that I'm definitely sure that that's part of why a lot of people do what they're doing about their weight, because they do have a family, they do have a wife, they do have kids, they do have parents that they want to be there for. And I don't know, I just feel like that that's really it. I mean, um, that's all I really had to say about it. I just wanted to get that off my chest, because it's I think about it a lot, and I think about all the pain that I had put on myself for feeling that I didn't love my dad enough to lose the weight, and it's just not true. I love him more than anything, and I still do. And I wish he was here to see what I was doing now, and I wish I could, he could see me when I reach the finish line. I wish he was there. Um, but such is life, you know. You don't know when people are gonna go. You don't know when you're gonna go, and you shouldn't take the time for granted. Because once they're gone, that's it. I mean, I couldn't tell you what I would give just to hear my dad's voice again. Just to hear him say my name or say anything. So, guys, that's really all I had to say. I weighed in yesterday. I lost 1 pound this week, so I didn't hit my goal of getting into the 300s, but that's okay. Uh, I have a feeling that I'm gonna knock the shit out of it this week. So that's it. Hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you next weekend or later this week. Take care.